Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So I tried to do a live earlier on this evening from my phone, from my, well, I was in bed, to be honest, or lying on the bed because it's so hot here. For those of you who don't know, I'm in mainland Spain. It's really ratcheting up the heat coming into the summer now. Today's just been one of those days. Some days you can cope better with the heat than others. I don't know why, but today it's just felt really oppressive, the heat, right from early this morning. So I was having a little lie down, like siesta time in the full heat of the day. And I would try to do a live from my phone and it all went wrong. You may have seen a little bit of it. Anyway, it didn't happen. Let's put it that way. So in the end, I abandoned that. And I thought, no, when I get up, I'll go down and I'll do a live. So there's a couple of things that I just want to chat over with you, tell you about. Remember, this is Vicky Marie Chats. We like to talk about cases. Chat about new developments in cases we've been following. And what I'm going to talk about in this video, of course, one of the most famous cases, really, isn't it, all over the world, of little Madelene McCann. And, every time I put her photo up on here, I just get this pang, because whatever happened to Madelene happened a long time ago. And although some people cling on to the hope that Madelene is still alive, I don't think it's very likely. I'm just speaking the truth. But apparently German police have gone over to Portugal to search for Madelene again. Of course, the where we are at the moment in this case is there's Christian B, the German guy who's been crucified, really, in my opinion, or put forward as a patsy as possibly being the abductor of Madelene. Though, having said that, as I did mention earlier, if anybody saw it, but over the last couple of days, there's been a lot of sort of rumours going around, social media. So that doesn't mean the true, that in fact Christian B is no longer considered a suspect. So where it's like with the Madelene McCann case, you pay your money, you take your choice. There's so many different things get talked about. You just don't know, really. Well, one thing we do know is Madelene disappeared. We know that Madelene has never been found. And she's sort of frozen in time as this little girl that was left alone with her two siblings who are even younger than her. At the age of, was she 3, Madelene? 3 or 4? And the twins that were 2, all left alone in an apartment while their parents went off drinking and dining with friends, that they've never been held accountable for that negligence. And during that time, allegedly, that's when Madelene disappeared and allegedly was abducted. So, we've got this Christian B who's in custody in Germany. Now, what's happened now is the German police have gone back to Portugal, apparently, to look for Madelene. So we're going to look at that. Also, we're going to look at this Fruit Loop. She's sort of looking at Laurie Daybell is everything that I don't feel when I'm looking at pictures of Madelene, when I feel sad for Madelene and I feel she's been let down by everybody. With Laurie Vallow, I look at her and I think Fruit Loop alert. this woman has left a trail of death behind her, including her own children. And here she is, she's up in court again. She's up in court again. This time she didn't manage. This time this will be the first time she's actually facing one of her victims. So all her other victims, she was on trial for murder or conspiracy to murder. This person, Brandon, I think he was her niece's partner. He survived, so she's going to have to face him. Is that why she's turned up in a wheelchair? So she's turned up for this trial, the opening of this trial, in a wheelchair. And she's got sort of quite upset during it, and we're going to talk about that. She's made many attempts to get rid of the judge. You know, Laurie's one of those people, the whole world's against her. Nobody gives her a fair trial. All these people she's been found guilty of murdering, including her own children, as I say, they're wrongful convictions, all wrongful convictions, nothing to do with her. And of course, in the last trial, which was of her ex-husband or her estranged husband, Charles Vallow, conspiracy to murder with her brother Alex, who's like a hitman. Well, he was, because he's dead as well. Everyone's dead nearly, except for Laurie and her current husband, Chad Daybell. He's in prison waiting for the death penalty. I think he got the death penalty. Oh, I mean, you know, you couldn't make it up with Laurie Day. They call her the cult mom, all sorts of things. And all Laurie cares about is Laurie. So she's turned up in a wheelchair for her latest trial. And we're going to talk about that as well. So we're going to talk about Madelene McCann and the latest search for her. And then we're going to talk about Laurie turning up in a wheelchair. Is she really ill, or is she just playing the sympathy card? She's defending herself again. She defended herself in the last trial and she was found guilty. She's doing it again. She's going to defend herself. Anyway, never mind. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone for watching, for liking, subscribing. Very special thank you to my members. You are the mainstay of my channel. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who buys me a Ko-fi, sends me super stickers, sends me emails, suggests cases, leaves nice messages. I get such lovely comments left. Thank you so much for that, because that is what keeps my channel going. The lovely support that you give me from my lovely community. Thank you. Okay, so hi lurkers. I can't, well, I could blow you a kiss, but you won't be able to see it because I'm on the avatar tonight. So I look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. I feel like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. It's been so hot. It's just, so yeah, you wouldn't want to see me tonight, that's for sure. So I'm on the avatar tonight, so you can't, but I am blowing kisses. My lurkers, I'm blowing kisses to replay crew, and now I'm going to come and say hello to those of you who are brave enough to venture into the chat. So yeah, really, I want to know is, what do you all think of this Madelene McCann new search? I mean, it's sort of like, do you know how I feel about Madelene McCann sometimes? Apart from very sad for this poor girl. Is this going to be one of those cases that goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on? And you think, because how many times has there been a little bit of excitement, if you like, that maybe Madelene's been found, or maybe, you know, something, the case is going to crack, and, you know, that we're going to get to find out what happened to Madelene. And then only for it to just completely, you know, all fall apart and nothing comes of it. How many times has that happened? And sometimes I do feel with Madelene McCann case that is that going to happen? You know, I feel that one day something will happen. Like, you know, they'll say, oh, there's a search going on or something. And nobody will take any notice because everyone's just sort of just never thinks that anything's going to come of it. And then that something will come of it. Sometimes I wonder that, is it one day going to break, this case, and will we be so unprepared for it? Because we've had so many times that we've thought something was going to come out that might, actually be relevant. And it wasn't, that we've got fed up of even, we've got desensitized to Madelene McCann news. But anyway, hey, sheep farming. Hey, Paul. Thank you. Hey, hi, Angel. Hi, Heather. Oh, it's hot there too. Oh, it's been horrible today. It's just felt really close. 5:30 in Australia. Yeah, and we've got supposedly maybe some rain tomorrow. We could do with it. Do you know what? I think that's why it's sort of, when sometimes it feels so close, like you need a storm. It might feel better after a little bit of rain. Hi, Geordie. Hi, David. Hi, Jim. Nice to see you. Hope the donkey's okay. Huh. Oh. Right. I'm sorry. I can see you. You're all chatting between yourselves. Oh, Jim, I hope you're okay. Sounds like you've had a time of it. Things tend to conspire together and all happen at once, don't they? Anyway, let me have some water, one sec. And then, just need to drink lots of water. Oh, it's only the 2nd of June. I've got 3 months of this. This won't get any better till September. In fact, it'll get worse before it gets better. Okay, so let's have a look. We're going to look at the Madelene thing first of all. Do any of you think Madelene will ever be found, or we will ever find out what really happened to Madelene? Put your hand up if you think that we'll ever find out what really happened to Madelene. There she is, this little girl. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? It's heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking for the twins, for her siblings who never got to, grow up with their big sister. And, it's heartbreaking for the parents, whether you feel like they know what happened to Madelene. We've all got our views on that. Do they know what happened to her? I'm not saying that they killed her deliberately anyway, but that maybe there was some sort of accident and a cover-up, and other people don't believe that. They believe the McCanns, and they believe she was abducted by somebody. Let me know, as always, what you think in comments. Yeah. All we do know for certain is this little girl disappeared and has never been seen since. She's frozen in time. She's probably one of the most recognized faces in the true crime, community, but not even in the true crime community, is it? You tell me there's probably nobody, or not many people will there be, that don't know about Madelene McCann, whether they follow true crime or not. It's just one of those cases, isn't it? And not only in the UK, where, of course, Madelene was from, and not only in Portugal, where she disappeared from, but all over the world, people know about Madelene McCann, don't they? They know that little face. They know about her eye, about this thing that I can never remember what it's called. It's in her eye. Madelene is probably one of the most publicised cases, certain missing person cases ever. A little face frozen in time. Yeah. Oh, hi, K3. Yeah, we've got a mixture of people thinking, no, I don't. We all hope, that's it. We hope so, but it doesn't seem Doesn't seem likely, does it? But you never know. Maybe just finding one thing. So, of course, what they have said so far about this German guy, Christian B., the German police say they've got all this evidence. Do you remember? I think that was the last video I did on this. The German police say, oh, yeah, we've got this evidence. It's definitely Christian B. Well, charge him then. You know, have you ever known a police force say, oh, yeah, we've got all this evidence, but we're not going to charge him? No, it's ridiculous. Because normally when a police force does have some evidence but doesn't have enough, they keep stum about it, don't they? They don't come out and say, oh, yeah, you know, we've got all this evidence. He's definitely done it, but no, we're not going to charge him. The police don't normally say that, do they? They keep quiet till they have got enough evidence. Because they have to go to the Crown prosecution. Well, I expect in Germany it's the same. You know, maybe it's not called the Crown Prosecution Service, but in America it's the DA's office, isn't it? The DA has to say, or do they go to a grand jury or something? You know, each country has its own system, and Germany won't be any different. They have to go somewhere and say, look, we've got this evidence, we want to prosecute, and then whoever it is, the organisation will say either, yay, we think you've got enough, or no, we don't think you've got enough, won't they? So, hi, Matthew. You know, just... Anyway, they came out with this not so long ago, and we talked about it in a video. They came out with it. So Christian B is definitely, they've got proof, you know, proof perfect that Christian B is responsible for the death of Madelene. Oh, first that she was dead in the first place and that he did it. But then that's it. You know, and Christian B, I mean, I'm not really sure what's going on there in Germany, because they said that isn't he likely to be released in September, but now they're going to keep him a bit longer. I mean, maybe they will turn around and charge him. Don't know. You know, maybe that's why they've gone off to Portugal to, you know, find the final bit of evidence. Who knows? You know, this is what I mean, you sort of give up with this case, really, because there's so many videos been made. Documentaries, Netflix documentary, social media videos, YouTube videos, TikToks. You know, how many videos has there been about this case? You know, and people will always give their whole forth with their theories and, you know, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, ultimately, nothing's changed, has it? It's like nothing's changed. No further on, really, with this case. Then it was sort of a couple of weeks after it happened. Nothing's changed. Anyway. So apparently Portuguese and German police have launched a new search in Portugal this week as part of ongoing investigations into the disappearance of Madelene McCann. And the search will cover the municipality of Lagos, which sits next to Praia da Luz. Now, Lagos, yeah, it is. It's not, you know, because, you know, I went to Praia da Luz, and Lagos is sort of, it's not far away, don't get me wrong, but it's about 20 minutes in a car, I'd say. 20 minutes in a car, maybe 15. So what information are they working on that they're going to search Lagos? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Imagine if tomorrow it was headlines of Madelene McCann's body found or something like that. It'd be, you just can't imagine it, can you? But you never know. You never know. So, yeah, it sits next to Praia da Luz, the town in the Algarve where she went missing nearly 2 decades ago. Madelene was 3. Yeah, only 3. I mean, you cannot get your head around any body, leaving a 3-year-old and two 2-year-olds alone in an apartment in a foreign country, while you go off and get drunk with your friends in a country where children are welcome, till late into the night. You just can't imagine doing that. And these, the McCann's 2 doctors should have known better, So her disappearance sparked a Europe-wide police investigation and has become one of the most highest profile unsolved missing person cases in the world. So Portuguese police confirmed on Monday that they were carrying out the search between the 2nd and the 6th of June. So they've started today and they'll be doing it till the 6th. So it's a couple of days search on warrants issued by German prosecutors. I wonder where they are searching. So German investigators have taken the lead in the case since identifying 48-year-old Christian Bruckner. I tell you what, he's had a hard life. He looks a lot older than 48, that guy. So they identified him as the prime suspect in 2020. Now, if Christian B is guilty, well, I hope they do prosecute him. I hope, if it gives some answers and there is definite proof that it's him, that's good. I just don't like all this sort of smoke and mirrors. So German authorities suspect him of murder but have not found enough evidence to bring charges. But they've told the world and his dog that he's guilty. So surely he's got a case for prosecuting them, because they've come out and said he's guilty with no evidence. So he's currently serving a sentence in Germany for raping a 72-year-old American tourist in Portugal in 2005. German authorities told the BBC on Monday that criminal proceedings are currently underway in Portugal and that this was being done with the support of Portuguese police. Portuguese authorities have also named Bruckner as a formal suspect, or arguido, and they said he would hand over any evidence seized in the latest search to German authorities. Meanwhile, the Met Police said, so this is apparently has nothing to do with the Met Police. So remember, the Met Police were given more money, weren't they, to continue investigating into the Madelene case. Not loads of money, but some money. So, it's still being investigated, isn't it, by the Met, but they're not apparently involved in this at all. But they said, we're aware of the searches being carried out by the German Federal Police in Portugal as part of their investigation into the disappearance of Madelene McCann. And the search will be the first to take place in 2 years. Yeah, so remember that 2 years ago, just before I went to Portugal, that previous search focused on that dam, didn't it? A 40-minute drive from where Madelene was last seen. And Bruckner, who spent time in the area between 2000 and 2017, was found to have photographs and videos of himself near the reservoir. Portuguese media reported on Monday that the new search would focus on the area between the Ocean Club holiday resort, where their family was staying, and the house where Bruckner used to live. Okay. So, property linked to the suspect when he was in the area in 2007. Property the suspect lived in during his time in the area. Praia Luz Ocean Club. So, and this is Lagos here. So there's a couple of so are they going to search those properties? Anyway, we don't know. We don't know exactly what they're going to search, but they're going out there to search something. And supposedly with the cooperation of the Portuguese police. And, they're not dead cooperative often, are they? But, because they seem to be pretty certain that the McCanns were complicit. So the night Madelene disappeared, her parents had been at dinner with friends at a restaurant a short walk away. It's not a short walk away. It is quite a long walk away. You would not dream of leaving your children there, while you went, and you just wouldn't. 3 young children, 2 toddlers and a 3-year-old. Just leave them in an apartment in a foreign country, and you go off and have dinner with your friends miles away. Well, it's not miles away, but it's quite a distance away. So while Madelene and her younger twin siblings were asleep in the ground floor apartment, her parents checked in on the children throughout the evening until her mother, Kate, discovered Madelene was missing at around 10 o'clock. So German authorities continued to treat Bruckner as their main suspect. However, prosecutors in Germany said earlier this year that there was no prospect of a charge against him relating to Madelene's disappearance. Do you know what I mean? It's all confusing, isn't it? He's their main suspect, but prosecutors said there's no prospect of a charge against him. So a German documentary in 2022 found evidence that Bruckner occasionally worked at the Ocean Club as a handyman. And while I was there, we went into that complex. I spoke to a guy who still works there, who was working there the day that Madelene disappeared. And he knew Christian Bruckner. And he said, in his opinion, there's no way that it was anything to do with Christian Bruckner. So, but that's just what somebody said who knew him. I don't know. But I'm just telling you what that guy said. Nothing to do with Christian Bruckner. As far as all the people that live in that area are concerned, the only people that were involved in Madelene's disappearance were the McCanns. That's the general feeling from the people that live in the area and the people that were working there at the time. So German prosecutors have also linked his mobile phone data and a car sale to their case against him. And Madelene's parents last month marked the 18-year anniversary of her disappearance, saying their determination to leave no stone unturned is unwavering. And the Metropolitan Police continues its investigation into Maddie's disappearance, known as Operation Grange, which has been going since 2011. So there we are. There we are. Does anyone think they might find something? Oh, yes, Ralmote, number one son knocking things over. Always. You know what it's like. I go on a live, all chaos breaks out one way or another, doesn't it? So that's where we are with that. I just wanted to talk it over with you, see what you think. Do you think it will lead to anything? Or do you think it'll just be another one of those, some news about Madelene McCann? How many times over these 20 years has there been, something like this, a search or, bombshell evidence or blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah, and not come to anything? Is this just going to be exactly the same? Who knows? I mean, I could be wrong tomorrow. As I say, the headlines tomorrow that we might be looking at might be, some evidence found. I hope so. Because if Christian B is responsible, he needs to be charged. But if he's not responsible, why they're just not charging him? It does, and I've got no sympathy for Christian B. It seems like he's a POS, whatever. But, you know, it's not fair to literally publicly accuse somebody of something. You know, the police, when do they ever do that? Literally accused him of doing it. But they're not charged him. It seems like, you know, he's got a case against them for that. But anyway. So that's the first thing I wanted to look at. Little Madelene. Poor Madelene. I hope one day you know, she deserves, for a start, I don't know, you know, if Madelene is not alive, which, you know, it does seem unlikely. I'm sorry, but it does seem unlikely that she's alive. She deserves to be laid to rest decently, properly, you know. And how awful to be the sort of most famous missing child ever. You know, it's just awful. It's not fair to Madelene. Poor thing, poor little thing. Anyway, as I say, now we're going to talk about something completely different. We're going to talk about a whole different type of person. Laurie Daybell. Laurie Daybell, or Laurie Vallow Daybell, or Doomsday Cult Mom, or whatever, all the different names this woman is called. And this woman deserves all the horrible things that anyone says about her. You know, I don't feel bad at all saying horrible things about this woman. She's the biggest narcissist that I've ever come across. She's unbelievable in her delusion. Now, this woman, I don't know what you know about this case. Let me get a bigger picture of her up. Let's have a look at this picture. So she's been in court a lot, let's say. All murder charges or conspiracy to murder charges. And she's been found guilty every time. Every time she's gone to court for conspiracy to murder charges, she's been found guilty. But they're all, you know, they're all false convictions, according to Laurie. She's been, you know, she's been so hard done by, hasn't she, according to her. And it's just that, you know, the juries and the judges, they haven't listened to her properly. She made this really mad comment. She said, well, it's not just one mad comment she's made, of course. She's made loads of mad comments. You know, do you know that most people who go to trial get found guilty? Well, of course they do, because they wouldn't get taken to trial in the first place unless there was a good case against them. That's why most of the time they do get found guilty. Occasionally they don't get found guilty if you know, there hasn't been enough evidence, but just for the, you know, the DA or the Crown Prosecution Service or whoever it is in whatever country it is, it's not even going to get to trial unless there's a good case against them. So the likelihood of them being found guilty, the percentage likelihood is much more that they will get found guilty than not guilty. That's just statistics, you know. She got the right didn't she, with the judge in the last. Oh, let's start from the beginning with Laurie. So Laurie's been married, how many times I've lost count. And out of the time she's been married, 2 of her husbands died in strange circumstances. One of which, Charles Vallow, that was the last case that was brought against her that she was found guilty of, was conspiring to kill Charles Vallow. But there is another husband back in the day who was also shot or found dead in suspicious circumstances. She's never been tried for his murder yet. But anyway, Charles, you know, it seemed like a lovely guy. How she ever wanted to swap Charles for that bloody Chad Daybell. I mean, talk about downgrade. I think he must have hypnotized her or something. I don't know. But she definitely lost the plot somewhere along the line. So she had one daughter called Ty Lee. And then while she was with Charles, they adopted a member of his family's child, JJ, who they couldn't look after. and Charles and Laurie adopted him. And that was their family unit, really. And Laurie also has another son, Colby, from, I think, one of her many marriages. But he was, luckily for Colby, he was living away. You know, he's older, he was living away. So in the actual family home, so it was Chad Daybell, Laurie. Oh, well, initially it was Charles Vallow, Laurie, and the two children, JJ and Tylee. Then Laurie met this Chad Daybell, didn't she? Through the church, and his chat up line was, "Oh, you know, we've been married in a previous life, and you're a goddess, and I'm a god, and the end of days is coming, and we're going to be the chosen ones, and we're going to, you know, blah de blah de blah de blah." So she fell for this. He probably tried that chat up line on loads of women. She fell for it. She started having an affair with Chad. Well, Chad was also already married to a woman called Tammy. Anyway, the next minute, Tammy, I think it was Tammy, died before Charles, I think. So Chad's wife, Tammy, dies suddenly. Looks like natural causes. Then Charles gets shot by Laurie's brother Alex, who's like her hitman. He seems to have we don't, you know, it's not known if they had an incestuous relationship, but it seems likely that they did. He would do anything for Laurie, this Alex, and it's thought that it was him who shot Charles. Well, it was definitely him that shot Charles, because he shot him openly. He said it was self-defense, that Charles was going to kill him. So he shot Charles, killed him. It's also thought to be Alex who killed the two children. Oh, because then Tylee and JJ turned up dead. Oh God, you know, just try and work through the timeline on this woman, what she's done. It's practically impossible. But anyway, after Tammy and Charles were disposed of, Laurie and Chad went off to Hawaii to get married. But the thing is, where was JJ and Tylee? Nobody knew where they were. Meanwhile, these two twonks are off in Hawaii dancing on the beach, getting married, and telling people they've got no children. Both their spouses have died in mysterious circumstances, and now the children have disappeared. So to cut a bit of a long story short, then what happens was Tylee and JJ were found murdered in Chad Daybell's garden, practically. I mean, it's more than a garden. They live like a ranch type place with the bit land around it. The children were found there. Little JJ was still in his pajamas. Tylee had been dismembered and burned. And apparently what was happening at the time was that Chad had told Laurie that people were either light or dark. And if they were dark, they were zombies that had taken over somebody's body. And, you know, the real person that was dead and gone to heaven, and all that was left were these zombies. And somehow he convinced Laurie that that is what had happened to JJ and Tylee, that it wasn't JJ and Tylee anymore. They were zombies. They'd been taken over by these zombies. And so killing them, really, they were already dead. So it's like, just let that sink in a minute. You know, crazy, absolutely crazy talk. Just a way of getting rid of these kids, really, because, you know, there was money, there's money involved, as there's insurance policies and this, that, and the other. You know, but the main motive for all this was money. And the person who was doing all their dirty work was Alex, Laurie's brother. But he's now dead as well, because he died of supposed natural causes. Supposedly had a heart attack, but it was very sudden. I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of him. I don't know. But nearly everyone's dead in this weird case. Do you know what I mean? Nearly everybody's dead. So Laurie has faced trial for all these conspiracy to murder. So there was Charles Fowler, there was JJ, there was Ty Lee, and Tammy Daybell. That's 4 people she's been convicted of conspiring to murder, but she says wrongfully convicted. She refers to them as family tragedies. Family tragedies. Oh, we're just a family that's had a tragedy. Well, 4 tragedies. It's a bit, maybe 1, maybe 2, but now 4 tragedies. And then Alex died as well. So, they're just dead people. The only ones that are left is Laurie and Chad, Chad is in prison. As I said, I think he's facing the death penalty. Laurie is not facing the death penalty, but she's facing life imprisonment. Now there's one more trial left, because another person who apparently Laurie conspired to murder was her niece's boyfriend, Brandon. And this is the trial that is coming up now. It was supposed to start today, but Laurie turned up with in a wheelchair. She's too ill. She's, apparently, and that's what we're going to look at now. So, hi, Bluebell. Did I say hi to Annie? I think I did say hi to Annie. I think I've said hi to everyone. So, gosh, I mean, this thing about these true crime, some things with true crime, you just couldn't make it up, could you? If this was a Netflix film, like, a film or a series, people would be saying, oh, that couldn't possibly happen. Oh, that couldn't possibly happen. But it has, of course. So, truth is definitely stranger than fiction. So now I've got to say, this case about Brandon, I don't know. I know quite a lot about the other things that have happened so far with Laurie. But with Brandon, I didn't know much about this. But let me just give you the background to it. So she's representing herself again at trial in Arizona on charges that she conspired in an attempt to kill her ex-nephew-in-law. So prosecutors allege that Laurie and her brother Alex Cox, now remember Alex is dead now. Alex was the hitman in all these things, but he escaped justice in this life anyway because he died. And he wasn't old. He just dropped dead. Basically, one day, and his wife had to phone an ambulance and he died. Oh, and he was a stand-up comedian as well. I mean, you couldn't make it up. A stand-up comedian and Laurie's hitman. Anyway, court document. This happened apparently in 2019, so 6 years ago. Court documents allege that Alex Cox drove a Jeep that belonged to Laurie's deceased husband. So, yeah, they murdered Charles and then stole his bloody Jeep to go and try and murder somebody else. So apparently he drove the Jeep from Rexburg, Idaho to Gilbert, Arizona, and then he shot at Boudreaux outside his home on October the 2nd. But luckily, Boudreaux was not injured in the incident. At the time of the shooting, Boudreaux was recently separated from Laurie's niece, Melanie Pawlowski. According to police reports, Laurie and her fifth husband, God, I thought she'd only had 3, she's had 5. Her 5th husband, Chad Daybell, along with Cox, told Pawlowski that Boudreaux had a dark soul. And yeah, so, it's, oh God. It's just like, if you want to kill someone, just say, oh, well, I've looked into it and God told me, they're a zombie or they've got a dark soul, so it's okay to kill them. That seems to have been their method. Then they allegedly began plotting his murder. And Boudreaux had previously testified about the shooting during Chad's Idaho trial. So Chad Daybell, he's had his trial for the murder of Tammy, his wife, and for the murder of JJ and Ty Lee, Laurie's children. And he, as I say, he was found guilty and he's on death row, I believe. So let's have a look at this video that will give us a little insight into what is going on.
Back, folks, we want to turn now to Arizona, where cult mom Lori Daybell was back in court today for a hearing for her latest trial. She is once again representing herself at trial in Arizona, this time on charges she conspired in an attempt to kill her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux. The prosecutors allege Lori and her brother, Alex Cox, yes, the same brother.
So this is the brother, the deceased brother, the stand-up comedian who was a hitman. Listen, if you ever saw anyone who looks like a complete Fruit Loop, that is Lori, isn't it? She is terrifying to me. When I look at her, she terrifies me, especially that picture. You know, she is so on another, literally on another planet. And she said in the last trial, like whenever anyone tries to say to her, oh, what about Ty Lee and JJ? You know, Ty Lee was a teenager and JJ, I think he was about 7 or 8 years old. She just says, oh, they're fine. I've spoken to them. They're in heaven. We talk all the time. I know they're fine. You know, she's got no remorse. She doesn't even feel like she's done anything to them. She took their lives away. She conspired with this man, her brother, and Chad Double Chin Daybell. And she's got no remorse whatsoever. She describes it as a family tragedy. I mean, the tragedy for that family was that she was involved in it. She is terrifying, I think. That photo actually terrifies me. I could have nightmares about that, definitely.
Brother, who killed Lori's fourth husband, Charles Vallow. Together, they planned to kill Boudreaux in October of 2019. Court documents allege that Cox shot at Boudreaux outside his home. Boudreaux was not injured in that particular incident. The two planned the murder because they believed he had a quote-unquote dark soul. The same thing Alex and Lori believed.
So here's Charles. That's poor Charles. I mean, that was so sad because he was such a lovely man, or he seemed it. You know, I follow his sister on X, and just seems to me he was just. Why did she like Chad Daybell better than him? You know, I just don't understand. Anyway, I don't know if you've watched my videos about the last trial, but did you see Lori? Because she was getting really shirty with, because Charles had started seeing other people. Once he found out Lori was having an affair. I mean, and poor Charles, he'd gone to the police and said he felt at risk of his own life. The police didn't listen to him. They didn't listen to him at all, probably because he's a man and she's a woman. I don't know. She thought the whole thing was hilarious. Anyway, just before he got murdered, he had been reaching out on dating sites and going on dates. And one of the women that he went on a date with was at the trial. You know, so, and Lori was evil. I mean, it was like she was so jealous of this woman. Even though, you know, the only reason, you know, I think Charles was in love with Lori, and he started seeing other women just because she was seeing Chad Daybell, and he seemed to like this woman. And this poor woman, of course, in the end, she didn't hear back from him, and she thought, oh, he mustn't have liked me, until she found out that the reason he didn't get back in touch with her is because he'd been shot. Anyway, so at some point in that trial, Lori was actually cross-examining the woman because Lori did her own defense, didn't she? And she said, oh, did you just talk about me during your whole date? And this woman said, don't flatter yourself. I mean, she held up to her really well. She held up to Laurie really well, as did Charles's sister, luckily. Anyway, so this is Brandon here. So Brandon is the only one that survived. You know, Brandon must think, oh my God, because all the others, this is going to be unique in this trial, because Laurie was going to have to actually face the person that she's accused of conspiring to murder. She hasn't had to face anybody before because they've all been dead.
Believed about Charles Vallow. Well, during today's hearing, Laurie took issue with her name being included on the jury questionnaire, and then got into a little spat with the judge and even told him she wants him to recuse himself.
Oh, yeah, she's got the right with the judge, because when the judge, well, you'll see it now, because whenever the judge refuses, she asks for something like, solicitors do, don't they? They ask for motions or whatever. Every time the judge, if he refuses one, she accuses him of being like prejudiced against her, biased against her. She's just unbelievable. She just can't accept the facts because she's a crap lawyer. She's not a lawyer. She's not putting forward legal arguments. And the judge actually told her that he's not putting up with any of it.
Let's listen in.
Your Honor, in light of the juror misconduct or the alleged juror misconduct, I have to object to us having so much information go out about my personal information in that jury questionnaire. Do you not think that was a problem?
What personal information?
The state versus Lori Daybell.
That's the name of the case.
Yeah, but you don't put that on anyone else's questionnaire, or one other person that's ever had that questionnaire ever put out with their name on it.
So she's objecting to the fact that her name is put out on the case that goes to the jurors, because she thinks everybody will know who she is, so they'll already be prejudiced against her. But anyway.
Just don't do it.
Do it in every trial I've done.
And then the people are just going to Google it, and then we're going to have the same exact problem we had getting a jury for that case.
So he says that I've done it in every case I have done. Oh dear. Whose name are they supposed to put on it, Laurie? Minnie Mouse or something. Don't put Laurie Daybell on there. Just put the state versus, can't say who it is. Because she says, they're just going to Google that name and know who I am.
We're going to have the same exact problem.
Are you done? Are you just going to keep? Okay. How do we screen for if people have heard about you if we don't include your name?
Right, she's thinking about that one. So he's saying, how do we screen if people have known about you if we don't know your name? If they don't know your name?
Do you have a response to that?
I'm just saying, you give them the name and they're just going to Google it.
They're instructed not to Google it. All right. And if you'll recall, when we had all the jurors come in person, one of the first questions I asked them in the afternoon was, who has looked up this case since you filled out the questionnaire? And we had 2 or 3 people raise their hand, and those people were excused. So I have to include your name to screen out for the people that know about your case. And we released about 100 jurors last time because of their answers to that. If we don't include your name, that's 100 extra jurors we have to go through in person and ask if they know you. And in fact, that increases the risk of tainting the rest of the jury pool. If we have someone stand up and say, yeah, I know about her case in Idaho where blah, 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 in front of the rest of the jurors, that'll burn the whole panel. We'll have to start over. So I'm going to include your name in the questionnaire. I don't think there was any other personal information or background information about you in that questionnaire other than your name. So was there any other issues you had with the questionnaire?
No, Your Honor.
Oh, I mean, she can't bear it when she can't get her own way. See, do you see that little girly voice she puts on? Laura's used to putting that girly voice on to men. That's what she does. I noticed it in the trial. So when she's talking to women, she's quite aggressive. But when she's talking to men, she puts on this little girly voice. I know. And this judge is not impressed with the girly voice at all. It does absolutely nothing for him. And she's realised that. So now she says the judge is prejudiced against her. He's not prejudiced against her. He's just not taken in by her little girly act. So, and she's practically stomps her foot when she can't get her own way.
So the schedule will be, we'll meet 1 p.m. to go over those answers on the 29th. On the 30th, we'll meet at 10. We'll have walk-in jurors that morning that will fill out the questionnaire. And then the people that survive are screening on the 29th, and those that survive the morning of the 30th will come in the afternoon of the 30th. This will be back in the courtroom we were in last time, 5D of the South Court.
Sorry, I just want to point out where it says there. So Brandon and Melanie Boudreaux were married for 10 years and were the parents of 4 young sons. And this is supposed to be about money as well. The presumed motive, something to do with insurance money, that Laurie thought that the insurance money for Brandon would go to Melanie, and because her and Melanie were so close, she thought she could manipulate that money from Melanie. This is the motive that I think is going to be inferred.
Tower. Again, I expect to seat that jury at some point that afternoon. And then we'll plan on going Monday through Thursday, June 2nd to June 5th. Then June 9th to June 13th, and if need be, June 23rd.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I have to ask that you would recuse yourself from the obvious personal bias that you have against me and send us to master calendar for this scheduling of a trial.
And what?
So then she says, she's asking the judge to recuse himself because of the obvious personal bias. In other words, I want another judge who likes my little girly voice, I don't want this judge who isn't impressed by my girly voice. I want a judge who is impressed by my little girly voice.
Personal bias is that?
A lot, obviously, the personal bias that you're showing right now and that you've shown on the FTR several times during the trial.
Okay, well, I don't have any personal bias, all right? I've over accommodated you on when you have to disclose things. In fact, your expert should be summarily precluded today, and I haven't done that. All right? So
you denied every single one of my motions for a year and a half that I've been here. Every single one of my motions has been denied. And have any of those motions not have merit? You've denied every single motion.
I think I was here this morning about 15 minutes ago when I granted your motion to meet with your attorneys over the lunch hour. I have granted a...
So she's saying you've denied every single one of my motions. And he says, I granted your motion this morning to speak with your advisor or whatever. She's just full of it. And this judge is good because he doesn't let her manipulate him. She is a manipulator, this woman.
Other motions of yours. Okay?
That's the first motion that you've ever granted
Well,
in my behalf.
file motions that have a legal basis, and I might grant them.
So you're saying none of my motions have had merit?
Not many, no.
And none of the motions that my first team, you denied every one of my first team's motions. You denied every one of my second team's motions. And now you've denied every one of my motions until today.
I haven't denied every one of your motions.
Every single one of their motions was denied. Every single one of the second team's motions were denied, and all mine. So you didn't come into this with any bias against me in the first place?
Again, file a motion that has legal merit. Okay?
And none of my attorneys ever filed a motion with any legal merit?
They filed a motion on your behalf, the first team, to preclude media coverage, and I issued my ruling according to the law. All right? They filed a motion to have you dressed out, not in jail clothes during hearings like this. Okay? That was not based in law. I denied that motion. So I've ruled on the motions as required by law.
Without any kind of a conclusion of law in them, just denied. Does that not show a bias and a prejudice against one single person?
All right, are you done?
Are you not going to recuse yourself?
No, I'm denying your motion. Anything else?
I mean, you know, what can you say behind that? Daybell's trial actually begins May 29th. Our Court TV cameras will bring you all the courtroom moments. She faces a potential sentence of life in prison if convicted. Now, remember, she's already serving life for killing her 2 youngest children and conspiring to kill her 5th husband's first wife. And she is awaiting another possible life sentence after being convicted in April for conspiring to kill her ex-husband, Charles Vallow.
Yes, so doesn't really matter in a way what happens in this case, because she's already serving about 250 life sentences for other people she's murdered, and waiting for this sentence of Charles Vallow. So yeah, I mean, in that way it doesn't matter. But anyway, so we'll just watch this video through to the end, and then we'll find out what's happened on the first day of court.
All right, let's bring back in our guest, joining us, domestic violence expert, former law enforcement officer Claudia King. Claudia, look, it's a dangerous question. I'm asking you to get inside the mind of Lori Vallow. Ooh, that's a scary place. But anyway, just give me your impressions of what we just saw there. I mean, don't mess with Lori Vallow. You know what I mean? You can just see the personality come through.
Yeah, she thinks very highly of herself. And I think she gets very upset when other people don't think as highly of her as she thinks of herself. I also do not approve of you asking me to get in her mind.
I apologize.
That is a crazy place to go. But yeah, I think she thinks she's the smartest person in the room.
Yeah. And what's interesting is I think this might be the perfect judge for her. I mean, the way he's handling her is just fantastic.
Oh yeah, he's good, that judge. I wonder if he's just not working. All her little girly feminine charm is not working with this guy at all. And Laurie, she's, some people, they've got, like, we've been watching the Mushroom murder trial, and Erin saying about her low self-esteem. Oh my God, you could never say about Laurie that she had low self-esteem, could you? There's such high self-esteem. So despite the fact she's been found guilty for murdering her own children, apart from all the other people, she still thinks that people think she's a good person, or that she deserves special favors. She's just incredible. And like he said, you don't want to get inside the mind of Lori Vallow. I mean, she is sort of fascinating in this horrible way. It's like when you sort of drive past a car accident and you can't help but look, even though you know it's not going to be very nice. That's how it is with Laurie. She's sort of fascinating but disgusting at the same time.
At no point is he getting upset. I mean, he seemed a little perturbed there, but he's really just pointing out to her very calmly, look, you're not presenting anything with any legal merit, and I'm doing things according to the law.
He's being very factual. He's being short with his answers, concise. He's being polite and professional. And yes, I think there are some judges who might get a little more upset and let that anger show through. I think he's doing a great job. I don't know if he has a flask hidden behind his desk or in his office in the back. But yeah, I think he is fantastic.
I want to get.
Oh God, yeah, I bet when he goes out for a break, he has to have a little whiskey or something to deal with her. Oh my God, imagine it. I'm glad it's him, though. I'm glad it is him. He is dealing with her well, but you know what? He must be dreading it.
Your impressions. I know you followed that first trial, and I got to say, I came away relatively impressed. I mean, clearly there were things that she missed. I certainly think if she had an attorney, things would have went better for her. I don't think she would have gotten off, but there were opportunities that were missed for sure. But I was impressed at her preparation and the way she went about things.
Absolutely. When you look at some of the other people that we've seen defend themselves recently, I think she's done probably one of the better jobs that we've seen.
I would agree.
She was certainly prepared. She did ask, generally speaking, some good questions. She did well with most of the witnesses. She definitely struggled with the woman that the ex-husband went out on a date with.
Well, see, that's the point I was going to make. What I think she was doing, and what we see today as well, is I think it was really for her all about personal grievances. She went after her brother. She went after the woman who dated her husband. And I think that really was what it was all about for her, because the way she questioned them really had nothing to do with her guilt or innocence.
Right. She wanted to have her moment, to have her say. And this is the best way for her to do it, and on a grand stage, which we know is everything that she is about.
Yeah. And now this time around, I expect this trial to look a lot like the other trial, because essentially they're talking about this conspiracy to kill this guy. Now, he didn't get killed, obviously. But what they're going to do is basically the same thing, show the connection between Alex and her, the information, the text going back and forth that put it out there that they felt he needed to be gotten rid of, and Alex was the one to do it.
Absolutely. I think this should be very similar to the last one. It seemed pretty cut and dry to us. But yeah, I think it's going to be another airing of grievances, if you will,
Yes.
For Lori and whoever is on that stand that she feels like she needs to have that one last word with.
What do you make of the entire Lori Daybell, Chad Daybell saga? One of the things we've talked about so many times on this program is, who do we think the mastermind was? Initially, I thought it was her. The more I sat through Chad Daybell's trial, he's a sinister guy. And I think she was open to it. She was more than happy to go along with it. But I think he was the real mastermind. He was the one that wanted to come up.
I agree with you. And I think, yes, she was very willing to play into that. I don't think he led her. I think he just had an idea that she was very willing to accept. I think she enjoyed that power and control that she felt they had together.
Yeah, I agree with that. Lori, she was sort of, for a woman like Lori, she's been in beauty pageants and she's always, twisted men round her little finger. And for a woman like Lori coming up to 50 and, changing, if you like, maybe she was going through the menopause or whatever, she's going through some sort of midlife crisis. I mean, I'm not excusing her, but I wonder if she would not have met Chad Daybell, would she have ended up doing the things she did? But then you could say the same the other way. If Chad wouldn't have met Lori, they were like a perfect storm coming together, isn't it? Sometimes when you wonder about these couples that do terrible things, would they have done them if they wouldn't have met each other? Or would they have done it with somebody else? Would Chad Daybell, if he hadn't got involved with Lori, would he have met another woman? And, a similar sort of case. So, I think they were both just as bad as each other. I've seen the videos of Lori after Charles died. She didn't care that Charles was dead. That was her husband. And he'd never done anything but treat her nicely. She just didn't care about anybody or anything, her own children. So she's definitely, although I do feel that maybe Chad was, controlling and sort of put the ideas into her head. It'd take a lot, wouldn't it, for a man to convince you that your children are zombies and that they need to be, they're dead anyway, so may as well just kill them. Because they're dead anyway, they've been taken over by zombies. So I don't really think that Chad manipulated Lori that much. She was wanting to be manipulated. She wanted to be told she was a goddess. He told her that she was a goddess and they'd been married in previous lives and they were meant for each other. And she lapped it up. Nobody would be able to tell you. If you were a normal person, a normal mother, what man would be able to tell you that your child had changed, your little child had changed into a zombie and needed murdering? It's not like, maybe men can lead you astray a certain way or women, but, not to kill your children. And Chad, he was just waiting for a reason to kill Tammy, his wife. He was bored with her. He met Lori, and Lori, people are all saying how attractive. I personally don't think she is attractive in the slightest. She's terrifying looking, I think. But, maybe men find her attractive. But, and he was just impressed because Tammy, his wife, I'm not saying, she wasn't as glamorous as Lori, And he'd been married for a long time to her since he was young. He was bored with her. Really, that was what it comes down to. He wanted a change, but he didn't want to divorce her. He killed her because he thought, and got the insurance money. Oh, no, not going for a divorce. No, I'll have the money, thank you. Horrible man. They're both horrible as each other. I don't see any difference between Chad and Laurie.
And seeing these people that they believed were dark and being able to get rid of them, I think she loved that. But I agree with you that Chad is the real mastermind here.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they're both as bad as each other. But so this was them getting married in Hawaii, dancing on the beach, telling everybody they had no children. While in the meantime, little JJ and Tylee had been murdered, dismembered. Well, Tylee had been dismembered and buried on Chad's farm. Nobody knew where they were. Nobody knew where they were, and the press were following them then and saying, "Where are your children?" And she was just laughing. And when one press reporter said to her, "Oh, there's a lot of people worried about where your children are. Have you got anything to say to them?" And she just said, "Oh, that's nice," or words to that effect. Horrible woman. Really, really
Loved
awful
that.
woman.
But I agree with you that Chad is the...
So now then, let's go back to... So the court started today, and let me tell you what happened, because it didn't get going in the end, because then Laurie turned up in a wheelchair and said she's ill. So I think this is Laurie's new tactic. She's getting nowhere with this judge, is she? She's getting nowhere with this judge. She's not managing to convince him. She knows he's not falling for a little girly manipulation thing. So what she's going to do now is play the illness card, isn't she? She's going to play the illness card. That's what she's going to do now. So she's turned up in court today at 10:43, and the judge is telling Laurie, oh no, this is where does it show about her coming in a wheelchair? Anyway, so it starts at 10:43. Just walked into the courtroom, the judge is telling Laurie that sometimes things need to proceed when we are feeling unwell. They are discussing tank orders, and the judge asked Laurie what symptoms she is having. Nausea, chills, and headache, she responds. Now, I think Laurie's getting nervous about this trial, more nervous than the other trials, for the reason that Brandon is not dead. She's going to have to sit there in that court and face this person that she conspired to murder. And that's the first time she's ever had to face someone. So then the judge asked Laurie if she would be willing to have one of her advisory counsel finish voir dire. I'm not sure what that means. And then at 10:44, he says, I'm your trial judge. My instructions are to complete your second trial. Even if for some reason your sickness worsens, even if this case got delayed into June or July or August, I'd still be your trial judge. So what he's basically trying to say to Laurie is, doesn't matter if you try and delay it, I'll still be the judge. Whether we do it now, whether we do it next week, whenever we do it, I will be the judge. And he tells her that not a lot is expected of her at this point in the trial. He says he wants to keep the trial on track. He tells Laurie she should consult with her advisory counsel. Trina Kay says she has nothing to put on the record. The judge says we will go into recess. And then at 10:47, Laurie is wheeled out of the courtroom in a wheelchair with her face down and her face in her hand. And at 10:48, Laurie looks considerably different from the way she has in previous days. the judge basically told her that her team could do jury selection without her and she could rest up. Then at 10:51, Brandon Boudreau and his wife walk into the courtroom with their victim advocate. They sit on the front row. This is what's behind this. She doesn't want to face Brandon. Around 10 to 15 members of the public are in the courtroom. And then Laurie's attorneys walk into the courtroom and are seated at the defense table. At 10:55, Laurie was wheeled in. She is leaning her head into her right hand. Oh, diddums, poor Laurie. At 10:59, the judge is back on the bench. Laurie says her counsel is not comfortable choosing the jury. I'm sorry that I'm sick. I did not plan on getting sick. She says she's only been sick one other time. It's hard to hear her, and she says she has a right to represent herself. At 11 a.m., Trina Kay says she has already rescheduled witnesses to fly in. She says she understands the defendant is sick but needs to know the schedule. Trina says she's unsure about what to do. Maybe wait till Wednesday and see if Laurie feels better by then and stay with the same jury. And at 11:01 a.m., she says, my concern is she's in a wheelchair now. The judge said he would ask her to sit in a regular seat. The judge wants to proceed with oral voir dire. I don't know what voir dire is. Does anybody know? Laurie says she's not capable to perform and she wants to get better so she can represent herself. I can't control any of this, she says. Meanwhile, there are over 50 potential jurors waiting outside the courtroom. So the judge says he will try to salvage the jury in this trial. I'm sure these jurors are going to be none too happy coming down it today again for a dry run. At 11:03, Trina Kay suggests starting early on days this week once Laurie is better. The judge says we could start at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. He's using another judge's courtroom, so he needs to see if the room will be open. At 11:04, he says he needs to bring jurors in to tell them something. He asks Laurie if she can sit in a regular chair and move the wheelchair. Laurie argues with him. You're putting a lot of pressure on me to be better by Wednesday. And she starts to cry. You know, it's funny, the thought of her crying, it just leaves you cold. Did she care? Do you think JJ was crying just for his Uncle Alex murdered him? Do you think Ty Lee was crying before her Uncle Alex murdered her? Did she care about anybody crying? Only herself. She's worried that she won't be better by Wednesday. If I'm not better tomorrow, are you going to drag me in here on Wednesday to bring me here? And the judge said, yes. The answer is yes. I will probably order you to be here on Wednesday. We will take tomorrow off. I need to confirm how you are feeling. And Laurie tells the judge he's welcome to go to the jail and see how she's doing. And the judge says, I'll take a pass on that. But she's baiting the judge all the time. Just because she can't get her own way. At 11:07, she's loudly crying. The judge asks Laurie and the prosecutor to exit because Laurie would not move from her wheelchair. The judge will now explain what is going on to the jurors without the prosecutor or defense in the room. At 11:08, one juror will be excused as he's got a camping trip scheduled for Friday. Laurie's attorneys and Trina Kay just walked out of the courtroom. The judge just shook his head. He's visibly frustrated. And then at 11:09, the jurors were escorted in and took their seats. And then at 11:13, the judge explained, there are no attorneys here. I'm embarrassed to tell you because I've never had this come up in my entire career. Something else has come up now, and we're unable to proceed with jury selection as planned. The situation is such that we won't be able to resume till Wednesday morning. I hate to ask you guys to do this, and I apologise. Then the judge apologises again, and he tells them all to come back on Wednesday at 10 a.m. He tells them not to look up anything about the case, and he tells them not to discuss it with anyone else. And he says if they make it onto the jury, he will make it up to them and buy them donuts. And one lady responds, that'll work. And then at 11:15, court is adjourned. So that's it. That's the end of the first day. Now, I think this trial's actually being televised. So we might be able to watch some, watch some of it. I mean, of course, at the moment, it's all about the mushroom trial. Do you know, tonight, because I've only got one class tomorrow in the morning, I was thinking that because it's so important what's happening in the mushroom trial at the moment, with Erin giving her testimony, I may even get up at 2:30 in the morning to report live from it. Because normally I talk about the mushroom trial when I get up or after I finish my classes for the morning, by which time normally it's finished, isn't it? Now, I don't know if anybody else will be awake at that time. Of course, my Australian followers, they will be, and Americans, because it's. But whether I'll be able to actually do that, maybe I might have to wait till after 10 o'clock tomorrow. But I'm just fascinated. Erin's testimony. It's incredible that Erin is giving testimony, I think, and I can't wait to hear the cross-examination of Erin, in the mushroom murder trials. Is that going to backfire against her? This decision that either she's made or Mr. Mandy, the defence lawyer, has made, because it certainly backfired on Laurie. Laurie deciding, to defend herself didn't go well for her. And it just hasn't gone well. It's not going to go well for her in this case. Just isn't. Because the evidence that they've got, doesn't matter whether she tries to say the judge is against her or the jury might have known about her. There's texts that they're going to show between her and her mad, crazy hitman brother, Alec, before he died. There's texts. How's she going to explain that away? So, she has, I agree, David, I think she has made a complete boo-boo. How is she going to explain that away? She can pretend she's ill, she can do whatever she likes, but she's just made a big mistake. I think if you were a normal person, why didn't she just plead guilty? Because she's already in prison for life anyway. She's not coming out of prison. She's been accused of murdering that many people. She's practically a serial killer. Really? What would she be described as? She's like a serial killer. There's that many bloody bodies backed up behind her. So what's the point in trying to pretend she's, trying to plead not guilty here? And I think when it comes down to it, and she's got to actually look that man in the face, that Brandon. Bear in mind, he was married to a niece for over 10 years. Laurie will know him, really, they'll know each other well. She's probably cooked him a, fantastic, green chili chicken or whatever that she makes for all the family. Oh, God. He's probably been there at the family barbecues and this, that, and the other. And she's got to face him. she's got to face him, and not only that, she's got to face him with these, and here, you know, when these texts come out between her and she's Fruit Loop, but her brother was even more Fruit Loop. You know, it's the Fruit Loop family, as far as they're concerned. Yeah. So, hi Excel. Oh, sorry, I'm just finishing now, but I might be back. Well, I'll definitely be back tomorrow to talk about the mushroom trial, but I may be back early. I don't know. Probably not, because I do feel tired. Even though I've done a lot of laying around today, but it just was so hot. I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. It's too hot to sleep. So the only time that's comfortable when the weather's like this is first thing in the morning, like about 6 o'clock in the morning. So okay, so I hope you found that interesting. And for those of you that are watching on catch up, etc., or you lurkers, don't forget to let me know what you think in comments. What do you think about the Madelene McCann new search? Do you think anything will ever, you know, be found definitively about what happened to Madelene McCann? And what do you think of Fruit Loop? Laurie Daybell turning up in a wheelchair. Poor thing, crying. I mean, really, are people to start expected to feel sorry for her? You know, I honestly, sometimes you can feel it in your heart to feel sorry for people, but this woman, she was so cold. Her children, you know, she never cried for them. They were, you know, she's still not even had, you can't forgive someone for doing something. It's what I always say. How can someone be forgiven when they've won't even admit what they've done? You can't forgive them because she's not accepting responsibility, is she? So she can't be forgiven. Even God can't forgive her. She says, oh yeah, she thinks she's okay with God. You know, JJ and Tylee have been to her and spoken to her. They're happy. Everything's fine. She said that. She said she's not worried about what happens when she passes on to the next life. She's 100% certain she hasn't done anything wrong. Fruit Loop. Her and Alec, definite Fruit Loop. Seems like the rest of the family actually are okay. Just something happened. Her and Alec, you know, just Fruit Loops. Okay, I'm going. So take care. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And I'll see you really soon in the next video. And as always, till then, may your God go with you. Thank you for watching. Bye.